Hi and welcome back to Joe Talks Cars and welcome to another day at the VW Drive Day. Welcome to the ID3. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you might have seen my review on the Cupra Born. If you haven't, click the link in the top of the screen now and that'll take you to that video. But I absolutely loved that car. It really ticked so many boxes, and to be honest, I was on the configurator when I got in. So when I came here today, and there was an ID3 sat there, which the Cupra is based on, I thought, let's take this out and see how different that Cupra really is. The thing that I more or less dislike straight away about the ID3 is the way it looks, and that's what the Cupra kind of fixes. This kind of funny face that it has. I'm not really sure I like it. Now it's round the back that I think the ID3 is actually quite a successful design. It's a really nice, clean looking car with some decent curves. I really do like the white ID3 logo. The spoiler, or awning as I referred to on a Cupra, it's very similar. I think it's possibly even the same. And it looks really cool, makes the window look real small, makes the whole back of the car look like it's squatting. Although the cabin layout is exactly the same as the Cupra Born, the centre console is quite different, and some of the materials they've used are of a lesser quality. You'd expect that, these cars are a lot cheaper, but the main things about the cabin remain the same, which is really good. There's nothing really to hate about it, but there's nothing that excites me about this either. The real test of this car will be on the open road to see what it handles like and what the performance is like, because it is missing a little bit of power over the Cupra Born. So here we go, the first drive in the ID3. Like I said earlier, this car is the performance car, so it does have a little bit more power than the standard ID3, 204 horsepower. What that will equate to in driving, I don't know. The Cupra Born had 230 horsepower, and to be honest, wasn't that quick, so I'm not expecting great things in terms of performance. But the main purpose of this review is to find out really how different they are, and whether or not I think it's worth spending the extra money on the Cupra Born, because they're quite a lot more money. And aside from styling, I want to find out whether there's any difference. So let's hit the road. We've got the car for about half an hour, so I think it's plenty enough time for me to give you a few of my impressions and thoughts about what this thing is like to drive. So let's hit the road, use the dodgy gear selector up here, which I'm now used to actually, because they've fitted it to every single VW product now. But yeah, let's see what this car's made of. People signed up to watch my channel for Porsches, and I do appreciate that. And every time you load up YouTube now, I'm reviewing another electric car. I apologise profusely if that's not what you want, but unfortunately, we're all going electric, and I think it'd be wrong of me just to simply ignore them. You can't ignore electric cars. And as much as I love internal combustion, I am slowly, actually not even slowly, I'm quickly getting on board with this. Silent motoring, instant power. It's just a different way to use a car, and it's just a different thing to drive altogether. So initial impressions straight away on the ID3, you might be surprised to hear, feels exactly like a Cupra Born. This is what I expected it to be, a slightly softer version. So the suspension straight away is softer, but this is worth mentioning, this is obviously on the standard wheels. The Cupra Born had much larger wheels on it. When you accelerate hard in the ID3, it's fairly undramatic. It feels, like I said earlier, very similar to the Cupra Born. It's not rapid, but it's not what you describe as a slow car. It's actually quite nice. The power comes in very progressively, it's very smooth. The steering feel in the ID3 is even more vague than what it was in the Cupra Born. The wheels and the steering wheel are definitely have no correlation between one another. You could literally turn the wheel and you have no clue what them front wheels are doing. They're just not, it's not very engaging to drive at all. Whilst I was driving the Cupra Born, obviously it has all the same driver assists that this does. They have all the same like lane departure, all that sort of jazz. And I didn't really find it very intrusive in the Cupra Born. It was there in the background, and you did feel it sometimes when you went to switch lanes and stuff. You did feel a car tugging at the wheel. It wasn't that bad though. It really wasn't. Whereas in this, I mean, I'm getting bonging for exceeding the speed limit, even by 1 mile an hour. I've had the car come up saying it had detected a crash. I've not obviously had a crash, but it came up saying impact or something. I've not, apart from a leaf landing on the front of the car, nothing's hit the front of this car. And it's bonging at me for absolutely everything. So there's definitely more interference in this car, or there appears to be more interference with these driver aids than there was in the Born. This car is fully pulling me into the side of the road. It's also using regenerative braking a lot harder, so I'm guessing there's just some setting that I'm missing somewhere where this is set up for sort of, I don't know. As you can see then, it bonged to tell me to keep back in the centre of the road. Oh, drive. So what we're going to do now, because I'm convinced that the Cupra Born will have had all this, and what it will have been is turned off. I'm going to go into the driver assist now and see what is actually turned off. This pretty much sums up the problem with all these touchscreen buttons and screens in VW's latest products, because I've gone to try and change some settings now to see if I can turn off some driver aids, but actually all I've achieved is turning on the music. I mean, this is not the first time I've been in an ID3 style car. I still can't get used to it. These sort of touchscreen buttons to control the heaters and stuff, they just simply do not work. They do random things and then you spend all your time trying to sort it. And that, in a world where you're not even allowed to look at your mobile phone, seems bizarre to me. You pick up your phone to even just glance at it, you'll get a fine. You'll probably get banned from driving. Whereas you can mess around with all these silly controls that don't work. You can do that while you're driving, that's fine. That's not distracting at all. The bonging for the speed limit is annoying as well. I'm not saying I'm a prolific speeder or anything, I like to speed everywhere, but sometimes you just creep over that 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour, whatever it is. Sometimes you just creep over. And this car likes to tell you every single time you've done it. Every single time, bong, you're speeding, bong, you're about to hit something, bong, you've gone in the wrong lane. It's quite annoying actually. And I haven't worked out how you turn it off because the screen's too complicated. I said when I started reviewing these sort of cars, I was going to ignore all of that rubbish about the infotainment because it's been done to death, but you can't ignore the fact that it simply does not work. In terms of range, with an ID3, with the 77 kilowatt hour battery, you're likely to get just over 200 miles range, like real world range hour, which is not that bad. Performance-wise, I think 0 to 60 comes in around 8 seconds. Again, it's not quick, but it's not the slowest thing in the world. Other things that I really enjoy about this car is the visibility. So that's a really boring thing. That's something I don't really talk about on my channel, but the visibility out the front of this car with the long windscreen, very stubby nose on the front of it, means you get a great view of the road ahead. The pillars are very thin because you've got an extra window down here so you can see that. And the all-round visibility is really, really good. It makes it super easy to park. Other things that I like, it's very comfortable. It's more comfortable than the Cupra Born. So if you're not after something sporty and you want an electric car that's just quiet, comfortable, then this is probably the answer. The Cupra Born is a lot more hardcore than this. Whether that's down to the lowered suspension or the wheels, I'm not really sure, but it definitely was a more sporty feel. So this offers something totally different, really. Something that may look the same, or may look similar, and be based on the same platform, is quite different. And that is a very exciting thing, and it's very reassuring, because a lot of people think that EVs are all the same. They think that one EV is just the same as the next, and they're all boring, and I've had a lot of experience with EVs lately, driving various different ones. And there was massive differences between, say, a Cupra Born and an e-tron. You'd expect there to be. But what I didn't expect there to be was a massive difference between an ID3 and a Cupra Born. That surprised me, but surprised me in a good way, because that means that car manufacturers can put their own stamp on these cars and really make them into something different. What things do I not like about the ID3? Well, I think it's plainly obvious from the offset. I don't like the outside of it. I think it's a funny looking car. I've tried to like it. I've seen them as they've come out. I've tried to get used to them, but I just don't like them. They're just not a nice looking car. I'm sorry VW, but you've not got it quite right. Thankfully, next year there is a revised one coming out, so they're doing a facelift of this car, and I hope and pray that they go more along the lines of the Cupra and make that front end look a bit nicer, because at the moment it's just not quite right. Obviously the interior is a little bit boring, however, for this price point, it's fine, and for what it is, it's also fine. I'm not going to get in a 1.6 litre Golf and complain that it's not luxurious enough, am I? Because it's not a Bentley. If I'm judging this on what it is, then the interior is fine. It's really well made, albeit a bit boring. Nothing that bad about this car. There's nothing I don't really like about it. It's quite a nice little car, and I think for somebody who wants to get an electric car to commute to work, go to the shops, do boring tasks in, this will be just perfect. So, what did I think of the ID3, and how do I think it compares to the Cupra Born? Well, surprisingly, they're very similar cars. It's down on power, it's less dynamic to drive, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same car. It's certainly cheaper, so you're going to save money, but it really doesn't look as good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly have enjoyed making it. It's been really interesting to test an ID3 straight after driving a Cupra Born, because when I was driving the Cupra, I did genuinely wonder, maybe you could save a few quid and get an ID3. And overall, you probably can. I probably wouldn't choose to do that because I care about the way things look. And for me, the ID3 just doesn't look as nice. And I would spend the extra few grand purely based on the Cupra's looks. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've had lots of fun making it, lots of fun working with VW today on their press drive. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.